December 5th, 1872. A merchant ship drifting through the Atlantic Ocean should have been a welcome sight. Instead, it terrified the sailors who found it. As the crew of the British vessel DEI Gratia approached the ship, something felt wrong. The sails were still raised, the cargo was still on board. The ship itself appeared capable of continuing its voyage. But there was one problem. There was nobody aboard. No captain, no crew, not even the captain's wife and young daughter. 10 people had vanished from a ship that was still floating. No distress signal had been sent. No evidence of violence could be found. And more than 150 years later, no one knows exactly what happened. This is the mystery of the Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste was a brigantine merchant ship built in 1861. In November of 1872, she prepared to leave New York Harbor on what should have been a routine voyage. Her destination was Genoa, Italy. Commanding the vessel was Captain Benjamin Briggs, an experienced sailor with a strong reputation. Traveling with him were his wife Sarah and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia. 7 crew members completed the ship's company. The cargo consisted of more than 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol. Nothing about the voyage appeared unusual. The weather was fair, the ship was seaworthy, and Captain Briggs had every reason to believe they would arrive safely in Italy, but they never did. For nearly a month, the Mary Celeste crossed the Atlantic. Then, somewhere between New York and the Azores, something happened. What that something was remains one of history's greatest maritime mysteries. On December 5th, the crew of the DEI Gratia spotted the vessel drifting roughly 400 miles east of the Azores. From a distance, the ship appeared intact, yet something seemed strange. No one responded to signals. No one appeared on deck. No one took control of the ship. Concerned, Captain David Morehouse ordered a boarding party to investigate. What they found would make headlines around the world. The Mary Celeste had been abandoned. The ship's captain was gone. His family was gone. Every member of the crew was gone, yet the vessel itself remained afloat. And that's where the mystery truly begins. The boarding party carefully searched the ship. At first glance, there was no obvious explanation. The vessel had not suffered catastrophic damage. Although water had accumulated in the hold, the amount was not considered enough to sink a ship of its size. The cargo was still largely intact. Food supplies remained on board. Fresh drinking water remained on board. Personal possessions were still present. Valuable items had not been taken. No evidence of piracy could be found. There were no clear signs of violence, no bloodstains, no damaged weapons, no indication that a struggle had occurred. Yet one important thing was missing: the ship's lifeboat. It appeared that the people aboard had left the vessel voluntarily. But why would anyone abandon a ship that was still capable of floating? Investigators searched for clues. The ship's papers provided some answers. The last entry in the captain's log was dated November 25th, 1872. At that point, the Mary Celeste was nearing the Azores. Then the record simply stopped. 10 days passed between that final log entry and the ship's discovery. What happened during those 10 days remains unknown. Somewhere in that gap lies the answer to one of history's most famous mysteries. As news of the abandoned vessel spread, theories began to appear. Some claimed pirates had attacked the ship. Others suggested mutiny. Some imagined giant waves sweeping the crew overboard. Still others proposed sea monsters, supernatural forces, or other extraordinary explanations. These stories captured the public imagination, but most lacked evidence. In fact, many of the details people associate with the Mary Celeste today were invented years later. There were no half-eaten meals left on tables. There were no mysterious messages written on the walls. There was no convincing evidence of a violent attack. The real mystery is strange enough without embellishment. Today, historians generally focus on more practical explanations. One theory involves the ship's cargo. The Mary Celeste was carrying more than 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol. Alcohol fumes can be dangerous. Some researchers believe Captain Briggs may have feared an explosion after detecting unusual conditions below deck. If that happened, he may have ordered everyone into the lifeboat temporarily while remaining close to the ship. Another theory involves concerns about water inside the vessel. The pumps aboard the Mary Celeste were not functioning properly, making it difficult to know exactly how much water was in the hold. Captain Briggs may have believed the ship was in greater danger than it actually was. In that situation, abandoning ship could have seemed like the safest choice. But there is a problem. No theory explains every detail perfectly, and none can be proven. The fate of Captain Briggs, his wife, his daughter, and the 7 crew members remains unknown. No confirmed trace of them was ever found. The Atlantic Ocean simply swallowed the answer. Yet the Mary Celeste herself survived. The abandoned vessel continued sailing without her crew, a ghost ship crossing the ocean alone. More than 150 years later, the mystery still fascinates historians, sailors, and storytellers, not because of what was found aboard, but because of what wasn't. 10 people stepped away from a ship that should have carried them safely across the Atlantic. They vanished without a trace, and after all this time, no one knows exactly why. I'm Penny, and this has been another journey through time. Until next time, every place has a story, and every year has a secret.